Welcome back, pod people, to a new episode of Cinema D'Amore. I'm your host, Justin Morgan, and I'm here with
Chuck.
We're going to discuss Tarkovsky's Stalker. It does connect to Annihilation. I won't even make Chuck guess how, because it's just literally everything. If it's not the movie, it's the book, because he discussed enough about the book where I'm like, oh shit, yep, that's in the book. But yeah, they have similar themes of their, well, if you go with the movies, a meteorite falls to Earth and creates some kind of like weird alien environment, and people go in for different reasons. This is both movies. This is Annihilation. This is Stalker. And they kind of they change it in the movie of Annihilation a little bit, but the book for Annihilation and Stalker, which is also a book, let's start this off as confusing as we possibly can. They do that thing that you said they did in the book where they just went off of like their professions, kind of, even though I did have to look up stalker because I'm like, how's this guy a stalker? And I found out it was slang for somebody that like trespasses. I was like, okay, that makes a lot more sense then. I was like, he's like a guide. I don't understand what he's stalking. But yeah, the similarities are crazy to the point that I think we are going to have to discuss it a little bit as to like some of the differences, because you did say on the last episode that like you felt that like sometimes they were doing too much on Annihilation, like with the animals, with the bear and alligator and all that kind of shit. And this is like a 180 in the opposite direction of like, it's going to be so vague and shit's going to be shifting so much that it literally is just a bunch of people wandering around. It made me think of whenever I was a kid and you would just, be with your friends and you do like make believe scenarios. Like, oh, the environment's changing now. Like, that's like, they just rewrote it as, an adult. But yeah, this was a book.
I do like how they have to get into the area in this movie. It was an interesting way of like, they're just like, they'll have to open that gate to let that train through at some point, and then I wasn't ready for them they just drive their Jeep through.
Yeah.
There's like, just take off, just go as fast as you can right behind it. And then they're driving through and there's soldiers standing next to them that are just like, hey, wait a second, that Jeep doesn't look like it's supposed to be there.
Yeah, there's that one guy that's like the motorcycle guy that's checking the perimeter. So what we do know is that they call it the zone in this one, and they've built some sort of barrier around it, and they're like, the military is like trying to keep people out, but they do a terrible job, as Chuck just pointed out. Because we also know that this stalker, he's been in there a few times. I mean, I don't know how many times he's been in there, but he's been in there before. So,
and other people get in there too. He's not the only one.
Yeah, I don't know if this is his preferred method of entry, but I kind of it makes me laugh just thinking of the military being like, son of a bitch, you got in again. Yeah, I don't even know if they explain what the train's doing. Did they say?
They don't.
Because the track leads right into the zone, and clearly a train would be going in and out of the zone,
Yeah, I don't know, maybe they're testing things in there. They don't tell us, though.
No, they don't.
It's just for you to think about. I think he says the train doesn't go all the way into the zone. It only goes like so far and then comes back out. So yeah, maybe it just brings supplies in and takes it back out, but doesn't go all the way through. And they have to get on that little hand car, and then they send it back because, as the stalker says, you can't go back the way you came. You can't go backwards. You can only go forwards.
Yeah. He's a good guide. He's like, there's the room right there. That's where we want to go, because if we get into the room, it'll make whatever you desire the most come true. And they're like, okay, let's go there. He's like, we just can't go straight to it. It's they're like, well, how do you do it? You're like, oh, you gotta feel it. So he's like, Professor, you lead the you lead the way. What? Yeah, it's like an intuition type thing. So just go for it. We'll follow you. It's you're the goddamn guide. But all right.
Then the way I do like the way they don't tell you at first what he's doing. The way they try to find the safe path, which is tying some strips of fabric around metal nuts, and then he just randomly throws them into a field and is just like, "Yep, that's the way we got to go." But no one questions it. Well, the one guy, the writer, eventually does. He's like, "You can take your metal nuts and get out of here." I'm following you around like that the whole time.
Yeah, there's no real crazy like visuals. There's a lot of interesting, I guess, tracking shots. That's like his preferred method of the environments changing. Whenever it'll like so slowly shift into like another environment, like it'll look very natural, and then it'll start to be like cans and stuff like that, and then it's like a
He
tile
does, yeah.
floor. And
He does love those long shots in this movie. They're just
oh,
like he just puts that camera down and is just like just leaving it here for like 10 minutes.
I
It
think
is not moving. The
they
characters are going to get so far away, you're not even going to remember which character is which. They're going to be so small on the screen. You're just going to be like, there's those three guys off in the distance. They just keep walking.
they do that a few times. This movie, I believe they said, I was watching the bonus features on the Criterion, and I don't know who it was, some historian or something, said that there's 148 shots in this movie, and a typical movie is like 3,000. So, so there you go. That's
He doesn't, yeah, there's very rarely are there any close ups. Like they're all pretty like medium to long shots. Like there's very rare, I think at the beginning of the movie, because the way he framed the characters when you're like introduce them at first, I was like, I can't even like make out that guy's face to see like what he actually looks like the professor that's in that bar or something.
yeah.
He's like standing at that table, and it was just so long. I'm like, I can't even tell what that guy looks like. He's so far away. Everything's brown.
Yeah, by the time like you wake up with the stalker and you're with the stalker's family, and he's cleaning up, getting ready to go into the zone, and his wife's talking to him, and you do get close up, so you're like, okay, I know what this guy looks like. And then the very next scene's in the bar, like you said, and there's people having a conversation. You're like, I can't tell who's the stalker. The guy's like, I'm the professor. You're like, it'd be nice if I was a little bit closer and could actually see you. But they call them the professor, and they call them the writer enough that when
Yeah.
maybe you do get more like, yeah, there are enough close-ups that you can see what they look like, but they're also dressed like the professor has the hat on. You're like, he's the one with the hat. And then the writer had like the very dark coat, like the black coat. So you're like, all right, that's the writer. Now let's,
Call her up. Yeah.
yeah, now we know who we got these people separated in our minds, and we can go forward with the story.
I mean, it is a little easier to tell them apart once they finally get into the zone and everything goes into full color,
Yeah. I don't know what
which is
was,
very much I'm gonna assume that that's in some way like an homage to the Wizard of Oz or something like that. Like the fact that you film the entire thing in this brown monochrome up to the point there, like it is like they go into another reality where everything's finally in color.
yeah. And I wonder too, because when I watched the bonus feature and that guy was talking about he does talk about when they go into the zone, he's like, and the black and white changes the color. I'm like, it's very clearly brown. So like, did they shoot in black and white film and then like somehow
And then
expose
like
it to
do
some?
something to it. Yeah, maybe.
Because it kind of
Well, I
has.
know
Go
that's
ahead.
the one thing I read. I didn't read like a ton of stuff on the background, but I do know I read that I think they basically had to reshoot the entire movie because he filmed on like bad film stock or something like that. Like they shot the entire thing or most of it and then didn't realize till they started like developing it and going through it. It's like, oh, this stuff is bad. We have to reshoot it. All the film stock's garbage. So
Yeah,
yeah, maybe that has something to do with why they filmed it that way.
that's true. They said that they filmed half the movie. Like, they went through half the budget before they realized that, like, they didn't have the film. Like, the film was destroyed or something. And I guess whatever footage he had was promising enough that they like,
Gave him more
refunded him or
money.
something. But, yeah, they were like, they were thinking about, like, doing maybe Stalker 1 and Stalker 2 and, like, making it the sequel, but they never did the sequel. They said that, like, in his original the original zone was, like, a desert of some sort. It wasn't, like a forest, like a woods type area, and, like, I guess during, like, the fact that it got destroyed and they had to rethink things and they were able to change it, if I guess had it worked, it would have been drastically different. But I guess he liked the sand enough that he's like, "Hey, we could still kinda do this, you know? We could still include this into our movie." But yeah, you are right about that. I'm trying to I don't know if there's anything else that the other behind the scenes thing that I found really interesting too was apparently, like, after they filmed this movie, like, within the next, like, 10, 15 years, like, a ton of, like, the director and the cast and the cinematographer, they all had cancer and they all died, and they said that the ongoing theory is that because they were filming in some of these, like, toxic wastelands for locations, like, some of these were, like, old chemical plants and stuff. It wasn't, I guess, anything like Chernobyl, but very Chernobyl-esque where it's been completely abandoned and the shit's, like, leaking into the environment. So it's like yeah, they were like, the Tarkovsky got the same type of cancer that his wife who was on the thing his second wife got, and his cinematographer died of the same thing in the same year. So it's I think that it's a theory that's a realistic theory. Like it does seem like maybe that is probably what happened with these people.
Probably.
That and I watched an interview with the composer, and the composer's like, I've only worked with Tarkovsky 3 times. And he's always like, "I don't need background music. You're a guy that knows sound, and I need you to help with the sound design." And, like, people aren't here to watch a concert. So, that's not what we're doing here. So he's like, "Okay." And he was talking about how he, like the weird shit that he was doing, I don't think in today's world would be considered a composer. But he was
I was
talking
about to say
about
I like what you're bringing up the composer, and my first thought was I couldn't even remember music being in this movie at all.
well, you remember when they're going into the zone on the train and
Yeah,
it's like close-ups of their back of their heads almost or the sides of their
yeah.
profiles and the track starts getting like making like weird like electronic type noises like they're getting fed through like a synthesizer. That's the composer. Yeah, there is almost like there's like zero music in it, but I hope the guy's like a really, really good musician and he's like, I don't know, he just doesn't let me do it.
That yeah. Uh,
But yeah, this movie is kind of what I expected because the only thing I've seen before was Solaris, and it's definitely has the same type of tone as Solaris. And it's definitely a long it's definitely a long movie or feels long. And I think they said that producers or something when they viewed like a rough cut of this, they said that can we speed up the beginning of the movie, like the first 40 minutes? Like, can we make it happen a lot faster? And Tarkovsky's like, fuck these guys. He's like, you know what? If you don't let me do what I want to do, I'll make it longer. He's like, I'll make it slower because people need to know what they're getting into. So that's why like the opening scene's so slow because he wants people to know that it's gonna be a slow paced film. Yeah, I mean, it like that opening scene where it goes into the door and into the bedroom, like I don't know, maybe that's like the audience going into the movie, but like yeah, when it's just them in bed and it shows that glass moving on the chair and then it just like it's like panning back and forth between everybody that's sleeping in the bed. It's like what the hell's going on right now? You don't even know these characters yet, but no, I don't. I mean, overall, I enjoyed this. This isn't what I thought it was going to be, even though I should have. I, like, I wasn't expecting it to be as philosophical as what it was, and I feel like that's the highlight of this movie. Like, if you like philosophy, if you like discussing that type of stuff, that's what this movie is. Because you're going to be greatly disappointed if you're like, what happens when they get into the room? Well, I'll tell you guys. I'll spoil it for the listeners. They don't go inside that room.
Yeah, the whole point of the movie is to get to the room, and then nobody even goes in.
The whole point of the movie was just to philosophize. Philosophize. I'm making up words.
The movie wasn't about the room; it was the journey to the room.
It wasn't even the journey. It was the discussion about what if we went into that room.
Let's think about it.
But I do
Yeah, I
like.
do.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed the idea of it. It definitely the the stalker character is interesting because he says he's been there, but he talks about that he's never been in the room. Like he says that's not his goal. He's just supposed to lead people there. And yeah, they get into like what if he leads evil people or good people, and he's like it'll he kind of says like the zone will kill evil people is at least what he kind of says, or at least he thinks that's what it does. And he says like it doesn't really care like necessarily good or evil. You just have to be hopeless to get to the room. And then he keeps bringing it up that like everything is you have to have faith, which he talks about how crazy the zone is and it'll like lead them astray. But nothing crazy really happens the entire time they're there. Like he throws the nuts around to like track his progress and stuff like that. But there's only two times you really anything happens in the zone that like makes them have to change course or something, which is the writer's like, I'm gonna walk right up to the room, I'm not following you around anymore. And then he hears a voice that says, you have to stop and turn around, and but no one can figure out where the voice came from, so they all blame each other. And the only other time you get something happens is when the professor needs to go back for his backpack because he's like, I really have to have my backpack, and they're like, well, you can't go back. We have to move forward. And then they somehow loop around and come out behind him. Like they're like, how did you get in front of us, Professor? And he's like, ahead of you. I've been here the entire time. I thought you guys came back for me. Like those are the only two moments that anything weird even happens in the zone. So it always makes you wonder, like they keep not believing him. Like they're like, I think you're lying about weird things happening in the zone because nothing's happened to us. Like we're just here and nothing happens. And he's like, no, you have to believe me. It's a magical place that crazy things happen. And they're like, well, nothing happens though.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing with like a modern director would have had another character that would just 100% be like, fuck this, and show us what happens. Like shows
Yeah,
us that the land kills them or takes them in. I mean, we see a lot of dead people.
yeah.
There's
Yeah,
corpses all
a lot of
over.
it is it's the characters of the movie, but as the audience, it's like you have to have faith that what he's saying is true and that this will kill you if you go off track and don't follow the rules. The only other thing they reference is the other person that used to be a stalker, Porcupine. They keep referring to him as that he killed himself after he left the zone because his brother died in the zone when he was with him. Like that's the only other time we hear of anything happening to somebody. But and then to bring up the room when they finally get there at the end, they say the same thing. Like the professor keeps asking, like, well, what if like evil people came to the room and wished for world domination or something like that? And then the stalker's like, oh, people like that couldn't get to the room. Like they it won't let people like that get here. And they're like, yeah, but how do you know they don't get here? Like, you're not the only person that brings people here. Other people come here all the time. They could just keep coming here and they'll do evil things. But even the stalker tells them when they ask him like if good things have ever happened or does he has he ever witnessed anybody's happiness, and he's like, I've never seen anyone after they left the room. For all he knows, they all went off and like killed themselves. Like he has no proof that anybody's actually been made happy or that their wishes even come true. Like he says he never sees them again once they leave.
Yeah, and their wishes too are like he says when you go in, you have to you have to think about your past and you have to reminisce and try to discover what you desire the most.
It's like
And
Ghostbusters.
yeah,
It's gonna read your mind, and you could come up with the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man if you're not thinking correctly.
right. And it does sound like it's not when you go in and you make your wish. Well, as it's not really like a wish like that. It's not like I go in and I want to be a millionaire. It's like you go in and this room reads you like and like it's like a psych evaluation and it's like this is what you want. And I think these people start getting scared because they realize who they're like it's going to define them in some sort of way. It's going to like what if your deepest desire is like something awful? Well you said there can't bad people can't get in, but what if it's not awful for like what happens in the outside world? What if it just
Well,
like
it's like with the other guy. It's the guy they keep referencing,
yeah,
Porcupine, because they said like his that like he told people his desire was to bring his brother back to life, but then when he went in the room, it was like no, his real desire was to be rich, and then that's why he killed himself because then everyone was like, oh, he really only cared about being rich. He didn't really love his brother.
yeah, exactly. I did, and I like that idea of. I mean, it almost kind of has like another movie, another reference, like Raiders of the Lost Ark, like when they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna get all this power or something, and it's like, nah, we're just gonna fucking kill you guys. And I feel like they know if you take that and you make it into like a psychological weapon. That's why people were so afraid. They're like, I don't know if I want to know who I truly am.
Yeah. Well, that's why the professor just wants to destroy the room because he feels like he can't trust anyone else to go in the room. Which that might be my favorite scene in the movies when they find that phone on the floor,
Hmm.
and your first thought is that, well, they, and again, based on what the stalker keeps telling them, like, oh, this is a desolate zone, nothing works here, but like they turn on a light, there's a working phone, and they keep being like, are you sure? You keep telling us like stuff doesn't work here, but like phones work and lights work, there's electricity, like I feel like you're lying to us, man. But yeah, I
Oh,
do
that phone goes
when he
off, and the
just
guy's
calls
like,
his
it's like a wrong number. They're like, we're not
yeah,
interested, sir.
when he calls his boss or whatever,
Yeah.
like back at the university or something, he's like, I bet you'll never guess where I'm at. I'm at the room. He's like, you bastard, you'll go to prison. He's like, I don't care. I'm at the room and you're not. Like, I found it. You tried to hide it from me. And then that guy's like, when his boss is like, is this because I slept with your wife? It's like, no, this has nothing to do with that. This has nothing to do with it. This is about the room.
This whole movie's about the room, all right? Yeah, that was a great moment. I like the dogs too, that they don't really like emphasize what they are. They're kind of like watching the zone, I guess, or watching like they're observing people. But we do have at the end of the movie where like one of the dogs like definitely follows them all the way back
Yeah.
home. So it's like I don't know how that's supposed to be interpreted. Like if it is a if you doubted that the zone was real, I mean they were at least a place with dogs, and they they adopted a dog, I guess. Yeah, but I kind of like the
It's a great cut too of like the cut from the room, and like there's like the oil spreading from the guy's bomb that he didn't actually set off. Like he destroyed it and threw it in there, but like it's like leaking oil everywhere. And the cut to just them back in the bar, like all dirty and hanging out with a dog. And the guy's wife's like, "Where's the dog from?" And he's like, "I don't know. It's just here now. It's
does
our dog,
anybody
I
want a
guess."
dog? I already have 6 dogs. Every time you go to the zone, you get a dog.
Yeah, free dogs in the zone.
I did love the bomb. I did like the guy sneaking the bomb in, and I like the aesthetic of the bomb. Like, I don't know enough about bombs, but it was just like an all stainless steel thermos, basically, with like a bunch of like 4 pieces that screwed together. And when they talk the guy out of blowing the thing up, he's like, "Ah, shit," and he just like starts disassembling it and like throwing it around. But yeah, that scene too with the fish, I'm like, what in the fuck is happening with that? That's like that bomb part, the oil. There's like a fish in the water, and how do they get out of the zone? Jump cut to them back in the bar. Like, phew,
Yep.
that was a
Never
crazy
explained.
trip.
Yep.
A lot of, I mean, I can't recall every discussion that they had, which is they're almost having a constant discussion from the time they're in the
A lot of
zone.
monologues.
Yeah, tons of monologues. Now, I do think a lot of the philosophy that they're bringing up is interesting or like impactful when you think about it. Like when the writer's talking about, like, a writer writes to basically prove something to themselves. And if they actually believed in themselves and they believed that they were a genius, he says, then they would not write at all. So it's like you get into some really deep philosophical things that you're like, okay. Because are they like, we know that the professor, his main objective is, like you said, to destroy the room, but he gets talked out of that. And then the writer's there for, I don't know necessarily if I'd even say like inspiration or whatever. I guess more than anything else, it would be like to be like, hey, let's just see what happens if I go in there. I don't really know what I want. And like you said, that they kind of talk each other out of it, where they're like, I don't know if you want to know what you want, because if you know what you want, you might fucking hate yourself. But yeah, think about this. Go back to Annihilation. And I mean, I don't, this was a book adapted into Stalker, obviously heavily inspired the Annihilation book, which was adapted into the Annihilation movie. And obviously the differences and similarities are the environment's definitely like mirroring them in some degree. That happens in both of the movies. I guess the changes are not insane, but like Annihilation has, I think it's interesting that as their DNA is changing, they're like becoming a single organism more or less. And this doesn't really have anything to do with that, but I kind of like that this one's almost faith-based to the point that like everything is, it's just like I said, it's just a discussion that these people have, and they kind of like get themselves worked up and afraid. And I don't know, like, yeah, like the scientist is not like any of the scientists in Annihilation that are like, we got to figure this place out, we got to know what's going on here. And yeah, I guess and then I don't even know when they get back outside the zone. I needed to go through this with you, Chuck, because I'm not even 100% certain what the hell is happening here. I get everything up until, they go into the zone. If you go to this room, it makes your biggest desire come true. Nobody does it in this group of 3 people that we're following. They all leave the zone, and I mean, obviously they're affected in different ways, but they never attempted to make the wish. One of the dog's guardian people followed them out of the zone. And then we get a little bit with this guy's like daughter, where like there's one scene where she's like in
She's in
color.
color. She's in color twice. She's in color every time the camera's focused on her. Like
Yeah.
every time she's the focus of the shot, it's in color.
Yeah. And then they're implying that like she can't walk because her dad goes into the zone.
Yeah, I think, and I mean that's the way I took it, is that like she's being like in the same way that there's there's something going on in there, like the fact that she's in close proximity to her father that keeps going into the zone, like it's affecting her in some way. Like, yeah, it made it so that like her legs don't work, so she's like ill and that she can't walk, but she's gained some sort of like psychic ability, like her intelligence is higher.
Or
So
perhaps like
seemingly, it's that. Yeah, that's how I took it. Is that just from him, his constant exposure to the zone, and then coming back with his family.
does he explicitly say that like how recently the zone's been there or how long he's been doing this? Because like I think the kid's young enough that maybe he was going into the zone before that kid was born.
I mean, yeah, I think it seems like it's been a while.
But yeah, it's like the ending of this movie, like the final shot of this movie is this little girl like using telekinesis to move glasses around on a table, and it's all in color. So like I mean at the very least, like you said, Chuck, we're gonna piece it together as like she's connected to the zone in some fashion. And I don't know if that's supposed to be optimistic about the future, like the future's bright, or because it
Or is
doesn't.
it that like part of the zone is getting out of the zone now? Like maybe if more people keep going in and out, like it'll slowly bleed out into the world.
Maybe, but it doesn't necessarily seem like a bad thing.
No.
And yeah, I don't know. I think like to watch this whole movie and then this girl has psychic powers. I'm like, I don't know if that's good or bad. Like, I don't know if that.
That ending definitely felt like that ending reminded me of the ending of the film Annihilation, where it's just like everything's just at an end, and then the character's eyes flash a different color, and it's like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, they've definitely got some sort of ability now, and they're out in the world. So it's like, uh, yeah, it's an interesting ending. We got that, also got that random monologue from the wife that's like just like, I could just leave him, I could just go somewhere else, but he's my husband, and I do love him, and
I mean,
he just tries to help people. That maybe was like the weirdest monologue that felt like it came completely out of nowhere, because it was just like all the other monologues that are all about like talking about the zone and about their life, but then the character of the wife that like we barely got to meet, we just barely saw her at the beginning of the movie, and then she's just at the end, and then out of nowhere she just starts delivering this monologue, and I'm like, oh, okay, I was not expecting the wife to just out of nowhere
I mean, even
deliver a
I think the
monologue.
kid talks too. Like, only when they're in the zone, there's like a voiceover from a child. Gonna assume it's the daughter because I don't know who. Like, is it supposed to be a random kid? I doubt it. And I can't pick up on the tone of the voice. Well, I guess she never talks when we see her. But yeah, it's like, man, if you like monologues, everyone has a monologue. They give the dog a monologue. No, the dog
I
doesn't
mean,
have.
maybe that's the kid like communicating to her father even when he's in the zone with like psychic abilities.
It could be interpreted that way. I mean, I guess it also is kind of. I mean, I don't know what it's saying, but if you think about it generationally, there's nothing for this generation. It's only like the only hope is for the future generation because they go back to their brown ass world. It's a weird setup too because like yeah, we get the journey in starts in that guy's house, his bedroom, moves to the bar, then to the perimeter, then into the zone. And they do build their way up into the, right outside the door of the room. And then it's such a weird cut because it's like, they got back out. Like they don't it's not necessary to explain them getting out of the zone. They're just back at the bar. But I like how they don't go straight home. It's like it's got a bookend in the exact opposite way as the beginning of the film. But then they do start injecting that kid in there and the kid in color. Because, I mean, we don't really get the kid alone, but in the opening shots when they're all in bed together, that kid's not in color. The glass moves in the beginning of the movie. which I thought it was because of a train or something, to be honest. The glass is just sitting on their chair that's next to the bed, and it slides. We don't necessarily see a train. I thought we were hearing something mechanical, but I don't know. That was the composer.
Yeah. Making his music.
Making music, yeah. One of the best scores ever. I am interested in seeing his other movies. I definitely feel like he's a huge inspiration for Kubrick or vice versa. Like, they definitely are tapped into the same type of filmmaking. I know his, like, he only makes, I think, 2 or 3 more movies after this, and I want to say this is his last movie that he made for the Soviet Union, or in the Soviet Union. It's nostalgia and something else. I'm trying to use my brain. It doesn't usually work. The Sacrifice, that's what it is. Those 2 movies were not made in the Soviet Union, and those were The Sacrifice is his very last movie. He died the year that came out. But I always do find it interesting. Like, I think that it said that they were not happy with, like, his philosophical ideas and what he was saying in the movies. Like, it went against their propaganda, and that's kind of like what pushed him out of the country, as opposed to, like, I think of, like, Kurosawa, where it seemed like the opposite, where, like, the country was just like, I don't know if anybody wants Kurosawa movies anymore. And he's like, shit, I guess I'll go make something in the Soviet Union. So he went to a different country or started finding funding in a different country. But yeah, I don't 100% know how I feel about this film. I think it is one of those ones that will grow on me. It just, for this discussion, Chuck, I watched it last night. So, like, there's nothing, it's not like I have no idea if 3 weeks from now I'm still going to be thinking of this movie. Probably, though, because it has I would say the cinematography is, like, very, like, haunting, because it's just these long shots of everything, and the movie's very kind of, like, meditative. Like, I found the movie to be relaxing. I don't know if that's really what you want, but, you're just sitting there and you're watching, like, I surprisingly didn't. Although I maybe that's a lie, because I watched the first 40 minutes when they got into the zone, and I stopped the movie, and then I watched the rest of the movie the next night. So maybe I was falling
I
asleep.
don't know. I did the same thing.
I was like, that's a weird place to
It was
stop,
like part 2 when I was like, all right, part 2, we'll save that for tomorrow. Like, well, you stopped me. I guess I'll just have to just follow your rules.
I don't like to break up movies, but you know what? It's better to just stop it if you're too tired and continue the next day. I try to stop things, as the scene changes, like you said. But yeah, like last night after I watched that, I started watching Cloud, the Kurosawa that did Cure, and it's really good so far. I have like 30 minutes to go, but it was the same thing where I'm like, I'm too fucking tired. I'm gonna have to stop right here. I think you'll like this movie. Did you watch it yet?
Uh-uh.
It's like the main guy is like a scalper. He resells stuff online and he rips people off, and then everybody wants to fucking kill him, like actually murder him, because they ripped him off. He's ripped them off in some sort of way. So then it starts to have like a funny games, Straw Dogs type feeling, where there's all these people are just trying to fucking murder the guy, which is not what I thought this movie was going to be at all. I don't know where it's going to go, but yeah, it's pretty fucking good so far. And this is the last episode of this season, and we'll get into our Halloween episode. Our Halloween always starts the next season. And I don't know, we'll probably continue something loose like this, just continuing to connect movies. Maybe we'll take the approach of Stalker, and we'll just let, like, whatever we're feeling determine the next discussion. Yeah. But yeah, we appreciate you listening. If you have, we're not really too crazy on social media anymore. But if you have some wild interpretation of this movie, like I would actually like to hear it, even though we're not probably going to discuss it any further. Just respond to like the post on Facebook or something and be like, dude, this is 100% what they were going for, or this is what I think they were going for. But hey, I would go into the zone just to get a dog.
Free dogs in the zone. That's all you need.
What's wrong with that dog? I don't know. It came from the zone. I think it's just the zone. It's forever going to be haunting me. But yeah, actually, as far as comparing movies go, I felt like this was the most interesting one because it was extremely similar to, obviously it was inspiration for Annihilation, the book. But everything else so far has been pretty much like one little connective tissue. And this is like, this is like fully pretty much the exact same. Like even the books like of Annihilation, you said, is like they don't explain where it comes from. And then the movie's like, fuck it, it's a meteorite too. But yeah, this movie you can find on Criterion Channel. You can find it on HBO Max. Check it out. You can buy it at the Criterion sale in November. At this point, when this comes out, the flash sale's probably over. But if it's not, it's an option. All right. Thank you for listening, everybody. Chuck, thanks for being an excellent host. And we'll see you in about a week with a new season. Thanks for listening. We are Cinema d'Amore. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with news and information on upcoming episodes. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, Pandora, Alexa, or iHeartRadio. It would be greatly appreciated if you subscribe to our podcast on your platform of choice. We also appreciate feedback, so rate us, review us, and let us know what you think. And above all else, thank you for listening.